Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 2 Unit 6.2 Notes, Day 2. Today we're continuing our discussion on solving equations involving square roots. Our learning target today is to be able to solve equations involving square roots or radicals. So remember, you must use substitution to check your answer. And what are we checking our answers for? Well, that would be extraneous solutions. Okay, if you were in class, Ms. Carranza gave a wonderful explanation on it. So if you don't know what it is, ask her. She'll do it again. It was great. Okay, so this is what we talked about yesterday. We have the square root of 7x minus 5 equals 1. So to solve, we are going to use SADMAP. Okay, once the square root is all by itself, in this case it is, I can use inverse operations to square both sides, and then we would have 7x minus 5, because the square and the square root cancel, and then 1 squared is 1. And from here, all I do is solve. I'm going to add the 5 to both sides. We get 7x equals 6. And then I want to solve for x, so I'm going to divide by 7. And that gives us a fraction, so we're just going to leave it as 6 over 7. So before I can say, woohoo, this is my answer, I have to do the check. Okay, and doing the check, all that means is I am plugging my answer in for x and seeing if it works. Okay, so 7 times 6/7, if you don't know, use your calculator. Okay, mine's warming up right now. Okay, so 7 times 6 divided by 7, and that gives me 6. So we have 6 minus 5 equals 1. 6 minus 5 is 1, and the square root of 1 is 1. So yay, my check works out. I'm happy. This is my answer. Okay, that was a basic one. Then we said, hey, what happens when there are square roots on both sides? Well, if you notice, both of the square roots are all by themselves. So to cancel them, I just square both sides. They cancel. We get 5x minus 1 equals 3x plus 7. And then I want to solve for x, which means I want to get the x's to one side. I move the smaller one. And now I'm just using SADMAP. Add 1 to both sides. 2x equals 8. Divide by 2. And we get that x equals 4. Okay, so before I highlight it and say, yes, 100% that is my answer, I have to check it. Okay, so I'm plugging in 5 times 4 minus 1, the square root of. Does that equal the square root of 3 times 4 plus 7? Okay, and I need to plug in 4 to both of those. 5 times 4 is 20, and then 20 minus 1 is 19. On the right side, 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 plus 7 is 19. So yay, it works. That's my answer. X equals 4. Okay, so today it looks a little bit different, okay? Because there's another X over here, and I gotta know, what do I do? Well, the rules are, as we look at this, okay, I want my square root by itself. And if the square root's by itself, to cancel it, I need to square, and I'm going to square both sides, okay? So those cancel, and I'm left with 7x minus 5 equaling x plus 1 times x plus 1. Well, what do I do now? Well, the left side, it's easy. It stays the same. But on the right side, I have to do x times x, which is x squared, x times 1 times x, and 1 times 1. I need to combine my like terms. So we have 7x minus 5 equals x squared plus 2x plus 1. And guess what? I want it to equal 0. So that means I have to subtract 7x to both sides, add 5 to both sides. These cancel, and we get x squared minus 5x plus 6. And you're like, oh man, yeah, you got to factor. So you got to check, is there a GCF? No. What numbers multiply to get to 6 and add to get to negative 5? Remember, if you don't know, you're going off to the side and writing, well, let's see, 1 and 6, 2 and 3. And the only way both combinations work is if, oh, sorry, writing the wrong one. If it's negative 2 times negative 3 and negative 2 plus negative 3. Now, the super nice thing about this is that my leading coefficient is 1, so I can do the shortcut of x minus 2 and x minus 3. But remember, we're solving, so that means everything with a variable I set equal to 0 and solve. So I have to add 2 to both sides, and we get x equals 2. And I add 3 to both sides, and we get that x equals 3. And then I'm like, yay, I got my 2 answers. But guess what? I gotta check to see if they're extraneous or not. So that means we gotta come back over here and check. And I'm not checking one, I'm checking both, okay? So I'm just gonna do the smaller one first. I'm gonna plug in 2. So 7 times 2 is 14, and 14 minus 5 is 9. And then the square root of 9 is 3. On the other side, we have 2 plus 1, and 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, so I know my first answer works, but now I need to go and check the second one. So we have 7 times 3 minus 5, and does that equal 3 plus 1? Okay, so we're plugging in 3 to both sides. 7 times 3 is 21. And sorry, 21 minus 5 is 16. And then the square root of 16 is 4. On the right side, we just have 3 plus 1, and 3 plus 1 is 4. So congratulations, both answers work. The only thing that I'm going to do is put them together as my final answer. Okay? So I know it feels like a ton of work, and it's really not that bad. We've done a lot more stuff than this, so I'm not going to cry too bad for you. Okay? So here we go. Here's our equation. It's by itself. So I'm going to square both sides. Here we go as we zoom in and take care of this. So on the left side, we have x minus 1 times x minus 1, and that equals 3 minus 3x. On the left side, we start distributing. We get x squared minus 1x minus 1x plus 1 equals 3 minus 3x. We're going to combine our like terms over here. Remember, those don't cancel. So we get x squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 3 minus 3x. Now I'm going to bring these over because I can't factor until it equals 0. So now that the right side equals 0, we get x squared plus 1x minus 2 equals 0. So I'm looking for numbers that multiply to get to -2, but add to get to +1. The only numbers that multiply to get to 2 are 1 and 2, and one of them needs to be negative, and it's going to be a -1. Okay, so once again, I get to do my shortcut, so we get x minus 1 and x plus 2 equals 0. Everything with the variable we set equal to 0. And remember, we did show you the shortcut that you can go straight to the answer because you're doing the opposite. Here I had to add 1, and then on the right I had to subtract 2. Okay? Now the last step for this is to check. Okay? And so I had 2 answers, so I need to check both of them. Do they work? So there's 1. And there's 2. Okay, so check 1 to see if it works, and then I'm going to check -2. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video, and you guys should too, and try those 2 to see how you do. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, and there's your work. So when you plugged in 1, you should have gotten, yay, 1 works, right? But then when you checked -2, -3 does not equal 3, so I'm sorry, -2, nope, doesn't work. Okay? So let's just keep on keeping on. Go ahead and flip it over and look at example number 5. So there we go. The square root is by itself, so that means I can square both sides. Okay? So we're left with x minus 1 equaling x minus 1 times x minus 1. Now, I'm all for saving time and work because we just did that, and if you look to see what I'm going to highlight in blue, do you see how we already did all of that work on combining those? So if we were to distribute and multiply and combine like terms, guess what? It's going to be x squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay? So I'm just kind of saving us a step right here. I'm going to subtract the x. I'm going to add the 1. So we get 0 equals x squared minus 3x plus 2. Okay? So we got to do the same thing. We got to figure out what numbers multiply to get to 2, but add to get to -3. Okay? And that is -1 and -2. So we can do our shortcut. 0 equals x minus 1 and x minus 2. And then we get our answers of x equals 1 and x equals 2. So the only thing that's missing now is the check. Are these real answers or are any of them extraneous? So I've got to take our original equation, x minus 1 equals x minus 1, and we're going to do it twice. And we're going to plug in 1, and then we're going to check our other answer of 2. Okay, so on the left side, this 1 minus 1 is 0, and the square root of 0 is 0. On the right side, we have 1 minus 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So we know that x equals 1 is the solution. On the right side, we have the square root. 2 minus 1 is 1, and the square root of 1 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So once again, we get two answers. They work out. So if you were to put them together, you would just write them like that. Okay. All right. Let's see if you can set up number 6. Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so you should have gotten x plus 2 times x plus 2 equals 4x plus 13. So we haven't done this one before, so that means I'm going to distribute everything out. We get 2x plus 2x, and then 2 times 2 is 4, equals 4x plus 13. We need to combine our like terms. So we get x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 4x plus 13. Okay? And now we're not done yet because we got to get this equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 4x to the both sides. I'm going to subtract 13. Everything on the right side cancels out and we get 0. And then I get x squared and 4x minus 4x. Oh, those cancel. And then 4 minus 13 is negative 9. So it's really testing. Do you guys remember this? I'm left with a quadratic binomial with subtraction. The way to solve this is through square roots. And we would get x plus 3, x minus 3 equals 0. X plus 3 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, and we get our two answers of negative 3 and positive 3. Okay? Guys, all that solving part, everything from here down is review. We've done all that stuff before. Okay, so that shouldn't be too bad for you guys. But then now all we're going to do is check our answers to see were any of those answers extraneous. So we've got x plus 2. We're going to see, does that equal 4x plus 13? Okay, and I'm just going to write it down twice so I can see that I checked it twice. So we'll plug in negative 3 first. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. Underneath the square root, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 plus 13 is 1. And the square root of 1 is 1. So negative 3 does not work. Let's check our other one. So now I'm going to check positive 3. We get 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. On the right side, I have 4 times 3, which is 12. 12 plus 13 is 25, and the square root of 25 is 5. So my answer, I'm going to write it a little bit nicer since I wrote that really, really fast, is x equals 3. Okay. Number 7. So here's our equation. We're all by ourselves over here. So what I want to do is square root, or I'm sorry, take the square of both sides to get rid of the square root. So we have x minus 3 times x minus 3, and does that equal, or excuse me, 72 minus 4x. So what I want you to do is you're going to distribute, combine like terms, and set it equal to 0, and we'll pick it up over there. So go ahead and pause that video, and good luck. Okay, and you should have gotten x squared minus 2x plus 63 equals 0. Now from here, we need to figure out what numbers multiply to get to 63 and add to get to negative 2. Well, it's going to be 7 and 9 get us to 63. And if we want it to be negative, it's going to be a negative 9. Sorry, that should be a negative 63. My bad. Okay, so there we go. Both of those end up working out. And we get x plus 7, x minus 9 equals 0. So we set everything with a variable equal to 0 to get our two answers of negative 7 and positive 9. Okay? So to find out, are those the real answers, we need to check. Okay? So I'm just setting it up. We got x minus 3 equals the square root of 72 minus 4x. Okay? Sorry guys, I'm in a conference room and somebody is trying to call this phone. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and good luck. I want you guys to check, does negative 7 work? And does 9 work? Okay, good luck. Okay, so the only one that works is our x equals 9 is our answer. The negative 7 didn't work out. Okay. All right, guys, last one. Number 8, you were all on your own. All on your own. Go ahead and pause that video and good luck. Oh, did I not pause it? Okay. Oops. Make sure to do it. Okay, so here's my work here. We got two answers of negative 1 and positive 8. And then the only one that worked was positive 8. So guys, I know that this stuff can get a little overwhelming and confusing. So if you have any questions, please make sure you come in and get extra help. Your homework is 6.2 practice B. Okay? Okay, so that's it. This is Mr. Grice signing off for Algebra 2 Unit 6.2 Notes, Day 2. Thanks for watching.